Mark Zomer here with Zomer Company. We are happy to introduce to all of our customers, clients, and residential customers, acreage customers, land customers, a new program that we're going to be doing on our Facebook page and also on our website called Land Chatter. And we'll also on our residential side, the residential guys will be doing another program called Zomer Company Market Minute. But today we're here to talk about Land Chatter and also a little bit of history on Zomer Company and our past and kind of where we came from and where we are today. And doing that today with me is Heather from Zomer Company. And Heather will give you a little bit of an introduction into the new Land Chatter program that we're going to be doing. And we'll also be doing an interview here today on a few things that will be interesting to all of you that are watching this video.
All right. Hi, everyone. In this series, we're going to talk about our upcoming land sales and auctions, previous farms that we've sold, just to give you a little more like behind the scenes insight, kind of what all goes on in here. But before we get to that, we should probably start with how Zomer Company started. So, Mark?
That's an interesting story, Heather. Yes.
How did you get involved in this company?
Well, very interesting, Heather. But I will tell you, 30 years ago in January is when I got my real estate license. For most of you that know me or don't know me, I lost my arm in a farming accident back in 1995, so 31 years ago. And it was kind of an interesting story, Heather, how it all started. I actually used to sell all the kids' school bags on the school bus back in the day. I did a lot of auctioneering on the bus and did that. But I also will tell you, at that time, I helped a few of my cousins who were in the auction business on a few sales and so forth, and I helped them on the very first auction I ever did was in the grocery store, selling groceries of a grocery store that went out of business. And later on, I got into selling cattle in the livestock industry. I did that for 10 years up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at the stockyards. But I was visiting an uncle in the hospital one time who had a kidney stone, and my cousin was an auctioneer, and he said, "Why don't you come and help me on a Saturday and help do this household auction?" I said, "I'd be happy to come and help, but I'm not going to auctioneer. I'm just going to ring." Well, that's a lot of water under the bridge. But eventually, in January of '96, I got my real estate license and my auctioneering degrees, you might say, to do the auction business. And from there it just took off. So good. Very, very, very interesting career. And 31 years later, I would have never dreamt we'd be where we're at today.
Right. So 31 years ago, yes. What made you think, I'm gonna do this?
You know, I was farming at the time. And I'll be truthful with you, farming with one hand is not such an easy occupation. You know, putting a nut and a bolt together with one hand is not so easy. And I really can't explain what tugged me to that other than a lot of encouragement from a lot of people. And I firmly believe sometimes in our lives, there's doors that open and there's also doors that God opens. And I think that happens in all of our lives on a daily basis, that everything's in His providence. And obviously He had a different plan for my life than what I did. You know, I look back and I reflect on that 31 years, and it's been an amazing partnership. Originally, when I started, I worked for another brokerage firm for about 6 or 7 years, and then back about 25 years ago-ish, me and Daryl Vanovet became partners in our business together, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner. Daryl's a fantastic individual.
He's great.
Yes.
Did you see the long-term potential right away?
You know, I would say at the beginning, I'll tell you an interesting story. The very first year I had my license, I went to continuing education down in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and I sat next to a broker who was in his mid-70s. And he took me for dinner that day, and we went to McDonald's in Fort Dodge, and he said to me, "Mark," he said, "how you like this business?" And I said, "You know, I've only been in this business a year yet, I'm not sure." And he said, "How many things have you sold?" I said, "Only a couple." And he said, "Well, there's only one thing you need to know if you want to be, successful in this business." And I said, "Oh, really? I'm 22. What's that mean?" And he said, "Well, Mark," he said, "if somebody hires you to sell something, they pay you a commission to sell it. Sometimes you never work for them people again. But he said, if you build a relationship, you'll be busy the rest of your life." Well, at 22, Heather, I had no idea what that meant. But at my age today, I fully understand what that means. And he was so right, so right. As you know, working here, we have many, many previous and past clients. And they don't only become your clients, but they become your friends.
They do.
So, yes.
So when you first came in to the auction business, what did things look like? What was a big change that you've kind of seen come up?
You know, in 30 years, there's been a lot of changes, but one I can tell you, on one part, we used to do a lot of household personal property auctions. Me and my wife were just talking about this recently. There was a time where we did a household auction 17 Saturdays in a row. And to explain to you what that meant was you got up at 5:30 a.m. and you met the family at that house, and you carried all the furniture out to the street and lined it all up on the street, or on flatbeds or on the driveway and the lawn. And you had an army of high school kids that come and help you get the pianos out and the organs out. And we were talking about the other day, we did one of them one year. We had 17 household auctions in a row. And nowadays, you hardly do any household auctions. But it used to be you'd sell a couple of house, and the next auction they would be to buy all the furniture and fill it up for their house when they're getting married, which doesn't happen no more. They now go to the furniture store. So that's completely changed. But I would say the other big component is all of the auctions years ago used to be live auctions. And prior to COVID, there was even a fair amount of live auctions that we've done. And as you well know, we still do a tremendous amount of live auctions. But one thing that has completely changed that industry is the online sector. You know, when me and Daryl started as a partnership, we were one of the first ones to have a real estate website. Nobody had a real estate website. And now our website consistently gets 3 to 5 million hits a month. So unbelievable how that technology has changed what we do.
For sure.
You know, and you know this, Heather, from working here, but a lot of our machinery auctions and equipment auctions and land auctions, you'll have buyers from all over the United States, and it's very, very interesting. So yeah, I would say technology has changed a tremendous amount what we do. I would say the one thing at Zomer Company that's never changed is customer service and our value of our customer. I always say you can't have a business if you don't have customers. So
it's very true.
Yes.
Very true. All right, next question. What was a turning point where things really started gaining momentum?
You know, I would say this. The first 5 years, me and Daryl were partners. Me and Daryl both had a very unique role. There were certain parts of the marketing that I took care of. There were certain parts of the closings that he took care of. We both conducted all the auctions and that kind of stuff. I think back to pre-COVID, I think about when the nation got shut down during COVID and everybody had to go to an online auction. Many companies were struggling with the online platforms and how to make that work and how to do that. And my son Blake joined our business about 10 years ago. My son Bryce joined our business about 3 years ago. My brother Ryan joined our business over 20 years ago. And you know, Heather, when I look today, I think it takes decades to put a well-oiled machine of people together. And I always hear sometimes employers talk about their employees, and I would say, I will talk about mine too. We have the best, absolutely the best. You know, we have decades of experience of people, and you know, when you're selling a family's farm, they get one chance to do that. And you know, it's a legacy of that family transitioning that farm from one generation to the next. And, you know, with the marketing program that we've developed, you know, for instance, if we do your auction for you, we email that out to our extensive database, which is tens of thousands. We also have a very aggressive marketing program that we do through several international things and national things. But I would also say this, you can market and you can promote the properties and you can promote the farms, but at the end of the day, if you treat people right and you treat families right, and you know, I often think this, and I think, Heather, you've been here, was it 4 years?
Yep.
4 years?
Yep.
I think the difference is some companies care, and we care. We care about our people. You know,
it all comes back to that building the relationship.
It does. It does. It all comes back to building a relationship. And I think it's so important when you look back over your life. You know, an old man once told me, he said, you know, Mark, he said, all people want is to be treated fair. And if you treat people fair, at the end of the day, usually they respond fairly to you. And, you know, I was just talking to a family the other day. Their farm was in their family for 118 years. And when they put the trust in your firm to sell it, that's also a legacy to us. Because they do it once in their lifetime. And I just think we always feel an immense responsibility when we're going to sell the family farm. And, you know, it's so interesting, Heather, when you look at the regions we work. We work in Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota, Nebraska. And, you know, when you look back, you asked me, did I ever envision having 40-some employees and working all the states that we work today? No, I don't. You know, just a little reflection, Heather, if it's okay. You know, in the last 2 weeks, we sold land in Butte, Nebraska, Woodbury County, Iowa. We were all the way up in Minnesota yesterday,
Yep.
Rock County, Minnesota. Last year we were down to O'Neill, Nebraska. In a couple weeks in March, we're going to be north of Des Moines by Ankeny, selling a farm for the Arnold in Boone County. Last year our radius ranged from O'Neill, Nebraska to north of Pipestone, Minnesota to Corsica, South Dakota to east of Spencer. So when you think about all the counties and the attorneys and the banks and the people you work with, it's really a privilege.
Yeah,
it's a privilege.
It is.
It is. Yes. And not only that, we talk about land a lot because we sell a lot of farms, but we also sell a lot of equipment. I think our airport auction, one of the last airport auctions we did, which we do 3 times a year, on equipment, I think we had 23 or 24 states represented, Blake said, which is unbelievable. Coming up this spring, we got several retirement machinery auctions for farmers. And, it's always an emotional day. I'll never forget a farm sale of a memory if I can share it with you. We did a farm sale for a guy's equipment over here to the east of Rock Valley. And after the sale, I was sitting there, and he had sold a 1066 on the auction. This particular man had cancer, and so that's why he had the sale. And I sold his 1066. At the end of the day, I was sitting in front of the house with him, and the tractor was driving off the yard with the new owner. And all of a sudden, I seen the tears flow down his face. And, it's interesting how we deal with so many families at a very emotional time in their life. I always say
it's always a big moment.
It is. And we get to see a slice of life where a lot of people don't get to see that. It's kind of interesting. Earlier today, you were asking me what's one of my memories of an auction. So I have to tell you, one time we sold a farm and all their personal property up northwest of Inwood, and this is probably 20 years ago. And they had a 57 Chevrolet on this sale.
Okay.
Well, back in my former years as a teenager, my dad made me work at a salvage yard taking parts off cars and all this kind of stuff. So my mechanic abilities were trying to come out that morning. And they had a 57 Chevy on this auction, and it wouldn't start. And anyway, I said, why don't we just take the air cleaner off and pour a little gas in the carburetor? I think we can get it started, no problem. And so we did that. Well, the car started up instantly and fired up. Well, I must have got a little gas on my shirt, and that ran down my pants. And the next thing you know, Mark Zomer's clothes were on fire. And the Inwood Fire Department was rolling me on the ground to get it out.
No.
So it's not a memory I'll ever forget, I'll tell you that.
Lucky they were there.
Yes. So, no, it's been a very interesting journey, and, I'm very thankful. I have a very, very good family. I can't thank them enough for the work they do.
A lot of hours.
Yes, and the support that they give us. My wife has been an advocate in this business since I've started, which I greatly appreciate. Heather, she's been wonderful.
She's the best.
She's the best, yes. But I also want to say this. When I look at our staff and you think of all the work that goes on behind the scenes, I always say people see us auction day, but they don't realize that the sale bills have to be done, the brochures have to be made, the booklets have to be made.
Yeah, it's not just that half hour.
No, and then when that's all done, the closings have to take place, the auction settlements have to take place, all the deeds, all the abstracts, everything has to be done. And that takes an army of people.
It does.
When I well back, as you know, Heather, we had a company picnic. And when I was standing up there to talk to all of you guys at the company picnic, I said to my wife, I said when we got home, I said when you look at the responsibility of all the people that work here, it's really quite a blessing. And like I say, we have the best. I truly feel that. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut in with my story. I'm kind of a talker.
You're okay. So, talking about upcoming auctions.
Yes.
What do we have coming up? What do we have on the calendar?
Yeah.
What's going on?
So, believe it or not, we're in the middle of February today of 2026. We have about 15 land auctions coming up yet between now and the middle of April. And the interesting thing of that, Heather, is those auctions are spread out in Cherokee County, Iowa, Plymouth County, Iowa, Sioux County, Iowa, Lyon County, Iowa, Union County, South Dakota will be in next week, and then Boone County, over by Ankeny. And I was thinking about that the other day. Past season, just from November, we were out in western South Dakota, and we were all the way out by Howard, South Dakota, sold a farm out there for a family, and now we're going all the way to Des Moines. And when you think about that, it's just interesting how you work with so many different sellers from such a wide array of life. And, you asked me one time, did you ever see that coming, that you guys would be that busy?
Yeah.
And you don't plan them things sometimes. They sometimes happen, right?
They just happen.
And it's also... I always think our company is not only about us, it's about our staff represents our company every day.
Yeah.
And you know, they do it well. And it's simply from answering the phone to signing a contract to closing the transaction,
it all.
to marketing the transaction, to posting the videos for the farms and the houses.
Right.
There's so many things. I think you remember at our company Penny, I had put a list together of everything we do, from as simple as cutting up the chicken for dinner to
lot, yeah.
yes. So yeah, to answer your question, we don't just have a bunch of land auctions coming up. We got some great retirement machinery sales coming up too.
Yes, we
and
do.
they'll be coming in April and May, and we're already booking auctions for the fall of 2026.
Yeah, I saw one online for July.
Yes,
I think
yes.
already. So.
Yeah, we got a retirement machinery auction up at Lakefield, Minnesota.
Yeah.
In July already. So yeah, no, it's been very, very busy. Very busy.
Good.
Yeah.
So, getting a little more personal, not personal, but what has shaped you into the leader that you are?
You know, I think working with the people, you learn a lot from your customers. They teach you a lot, and I also think your staff teaches you a lot on what to do and not to do. And, you know, I think one component of Zomer Company that's very, very important is integrity and honesty. And I think all of our staff, you know, experiences that on a daily basis that they give their customers. And
Right.
I think that's huge. And I think also having a customer who knows you care, I think also makes a difference. You know, we're large enough to do every sale that somebody wants to do, or small enough to do every sale that somebody wants to do,
Right.
but we treat them all the same.
Right.
And I think that's important in today's industry. I think that we live in a digital world, and sometimes they say we're the most connected people, but we hope we're never the most disconnected people. You know, so I think, everybody plays a part here, and I would say I think everybody plays their part well. So
Yeah, I would say so too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of crazy, but you don't only become employees and owners, you become friends. And I think at the end of the day, we have the same thing with our customers. You know, I just was thinking a little bit about a guy who picked something up at an auction a while back, Heather. And he come up to me and he said, you know, Mark, he said, they didn't only help me pay, they helped me load it. And, you know, that just speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we really do have the best people.
Yes.
So, if somebody asked you what this company represents,
Yes.
what would you say?
You know, we represent so many things. But I would say, first of all, you know, I had a guy that owned an excavation company one time. And he said, you know, Mark, I can have the nicest shop. I can have the nicest buildings. I can have the nicest excavation equipment. And he said, that's all great. But he said, if I don't have the right people to run it, it doesn't matter.
It's not going to work.
And you know what? When you asked me, what does Zomer Company represent? We talked about honesty. We talked about integrity. But I also think it's like an attorney said a while back. We try to do it right. And you do it right because you have the right people. And the right people are the key ingredient. And I think we are so blessed to have those right people. And, you know, I always say to my wife and our family, you know, we're not busy because we only do it right. We're busy because the Lord gives us the opportunity to be busy.
Right.
And that is 100% the truth. And, you know, I just feel very blessed to be part of the area. Working in this 4-state region, you have people that are customers that have integrity. A handshake still means something, even though everything's now a digital DocuSign.
Yep.
A handshake still means something. And, you know, as you know, Heather, it's an interesting story, but this past year I sold a farm to a guy that was 89, and I sold a farm to a gal that was 95.
Yeah.
And she was a fun gal.
She was.
Yes. Very optimistic.
Yeah.
Yes. But, I think if you said, what does Zomer Company represent? We hope we always represent, you know, taking care of the customer,
Right.
doing the transaction right, and being honest about the transaction.
Integrity.
Yes.
Yeah. All of that.
Yes.
I would
So,
say
so I maybe should ask you a question, Heather, because we're doing an interview here today. So you've been at Zomer Company for 4 years.
Yeah.
What could you tell me?
I love it.
That's putting her on the spot. Yeah.
It's the absolute best. But I will say one thing that does stand out is how well we work together, how hard everyone works individually and together.
You know,
Everyone has a lot of stuff going on, but we still have a good time.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of amazing. I notice whenever there's a birthday, you decorate the offices. I know I had a birthday and my office was decorated. But I think as a true approach, it's a team pulling together.
Yeah,
It's not the first brokerage I worked for, it was always about the commission. And it was about how much, that's my customer, and what percentage of that do I get, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think here it's different. I think it's a team, and I hope it always stays that way because, yes.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it all started, or at least how you stepped into this.
Yes.
And this is just the beginning of some future episodes. We're going to break down some more sales as they come up. We'll kind of feature them each week, maybe go over some previously sold farms. And, so if you're a landowner, investor, farmer, someone just who enjoys watching these, yeah, follow along for more.
Thank you. And on behalf of Zomer Company, we want to thank all of our customers in Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota, Nebraska,
Yeah.
and all over the United States that buys, in Canada and Mexico that buy equipment from us and farms from us. We can't do it without a customer. And I always
Right.
say every time the phone rings, we appreciate it. So
Yeah.
thanks again, and we hope you enjoyed Land Chatter. It's going to be a thing that we start to do more often, like we said, in future episodes. And we'll also be doing an equipment chat program talking about the equipment sales.
Yeah.
So on behalf of Mark and Heather, thanks for watching.